Morning everyone, from a very sunny Faro airport. On my travels again, this time back to the UK. Got some golf instructor training days, going to be working with Andy Plummer, doing some stack and tilt training. We're going to be at the Belfry for a day, presenting to 30 UK PGA Professionals, and then Friday we've got a stack and tilt instructor training day. So I'm looking forward to the next few days and also looking forward to sharing some of what we do with you. Also get to see my mum and dad, which is nice.
Make my move before the light. Blessed to be above and fly. I believe I hit the ground.
People ask me sometimes, why did we move to the Algarve? So we made it to the Belfry Thursday morning. Here's Andy, say hi.
Good morning.
Looking forward to a great day. What are we doing, Andy? We're going to talk to some pros.
Going to lay out a system for golf,
That sounds good.
construct a baseline model to execute a push draw.
Sounds good.
The more behind the ball I would be inclined to hit, and the more I move the swing direction across, the more in front I'd be inclined to hit on the ground. So what I see happens is we have a worldwide epidemic that defines poor play of moving the low point, of shifting the weight back, releasing the club, making the radius wider, and hitting behind the ball. And then to get to the ball, these golfers open up and swing across to be able to make contact, which induces a slice of the opposite. If they were taught to put the weight all on the front and to put their hands ahead of the club and to keep their hands ahead of the club, then they'd all be swinging more outward at the ball, like this, and they'd be hitting more pushes and draws. It's very interesting.
That's a huge point on the swing direction with regards to mass golfers, isn't it? If you start trying to get someone to swing more to the right without the weight piece, they're going to start hitting the ground further back because it's a moving low point back piece. So they simply start to swing more from the inside to try and draw it and start hitting the ground too far back and abandon it. Because the only way you can get the club back to the ball functioning back here is
Open up.
opening up, swinging across it.
So my point is that if you, my point is that there's a few built-up points there. First, the progression for analyzing what controls the low point. A, where the weight is by 1 and 2, the two measurable centers. B, control of the radius is measured by the butt of the club's relationship to the leading edge. And C, the direction of the swing. 3 factors that control the low. In the horizontal plane, you get the arm to move around. That's right, number 1. Remember? Now if Rob just swings back like this in an arc, and he has no up and down, he's still got no power. This club has to go up and down. There's an ascent. There's up and down in the swing too. So what I'm talking about is how to get the butt of the club and the hands to go up and down by using the extension, not lifting it with the limbs like this. That's important because how many bad golfers, the worst of the worst, they don't know how to extend and tilt. When they come to swing, they swing back and they go. They just pull their arms, they take the radius and pull their handle to them because the propulsion to elevate the club is coming from the limbs. Right? They're moving the club up by going that way. My little girl Angie, she was going. She wasn't using her body at all to propel the backswing. My point is that it's the extension and the opposite side tilt that serve to give the stimulus, to give the butt of the club its orbit around the body back, up, and in, comes from the extending, tilting, and turning, not from just pulling the arms as wood, going like that, right? He's certainly not loading into his glute or setting into, right? So when Rob swings back, he extends all the segments, and in the frontal plane, it helps his arm to travel more degrees. When you tell people to systematically reduce one segment and increase and unknowingly increase the extension in another, now you're creating a situation where you have one segment extending and one segment flexed. Turn the feet and the knees out. And then the next thing I suggested was to bend the left knee and to straighten the right knee. Bend the left, straighten the right. And when Rob does that, by bending the left and straightening his right, his knee stands fine. One more time, opens. Okay, his hips turn, which increases the degree of freedom from the shoulder, which helps increase the degree of freedom for the hands to trace this arc longer. Conversely, if Rob keeps his knee flexed, okay, doesn't change his knee flex, retards the hip turn, reduces the degree of freedom for the shoulder to move, the hands and arms can orbit around the swing at less of a distance, and now the golfer's stuck, okay, they can't go back any farther. So they make the swing longer by lifting the limbs off the arc, or flexing them, or both. So in effect, they've changed the radius by bending the arms and lifted them off the arc, which is the beginning of swinging across the ball. So are you saying that by straightening the leg, turning hips, and moving the hands around a circle longer around the arc so that they can go behind them more degrees? Yes. As opposed to, did you just say that because a person keeps their knee flexed and can't turn their hips, that they lock up their shoulder turn earlier, and then they recruit to make their swing longer, bending their limbs, and that changes the radius? Yes. And did you also say that they also sometimes lift their arms off the arc, and that lifting of the arms off the arc was the beginning of swinging across the ball? Yes. Okay. So are you suggesting that by keeping the knee flexed, you're the beginning of teaching golfers to swing across the ball, making their swing shorter? Yes. Yes. Okay, so bend the left, straighten the right, turn the hips, increase the degree of freedom for the shoulder, move the hands around the arc. Helps keep the hands orbiting longer in the horizontal. See, I've got no knee flex here and no hip turn. I can't get back much past that. Let me turn my leg, turn my hips, extend the body more, I can go farther. The second factor that controls where the low point is control the radius. Meaning, if Rob comes out here for just a second, and I use Rob's nose as the ball, shoulder's the center of the swing, the left arm of the shaft forms a radius that comes from the center. If I put the butt of the club ahead of the leading edge, the radius gets shorter. So, one more time, if I put the butt of the club ahead of the leading edge, okay?
I've just got other problems to worry about now.
Put the butt of the club, say 10 inches ahead of the leading edge, the radius is shorter. If I swing through here with the short radius, I wouldn't reach Rob. My swing would be shorter. Conversely, if I put the butt of the club 10 inches ahead of the leading edge, and I swing back, and for whatever reason, the club unhinges earlier, the radius reaches its widest point sooner, the low point of the swing would move back, and I would hit Rob sooner, or on the ground further back than where I started. So the first thing that controls where the low point is where the radius. The second thing that would control the low point is control the radius, as measured by the handle location, its relationship to the leading edge, and how to. So if Rob sits up here for a second, if I swing back, these expert players, when they set up, okay, they've got the radius established. They make the radius shorter, and the radius doesn't reach its longest point until after the ball. The poorer players, when they swing back, for whatever reason, they move back and forth, okay? And then the radius reaches its inline position too soon. So now they have two factors that have shifted the low point back. Expert players never statistically make that mistake. They don't mysteriously hit 6 at 3 inches behind their 6 iron. They have really good control of where that divot is, not only where it is, but the depth of it, the location of it, and the standard deviation.
So I hope you're enjoying these clips from this week's training at the Belfry. Something that I'm very passionate about getting involved with and enjoy doing immensely. Exposing fellow golf instructors to this information, and I'm passionate about it because of the effect it had on my career when I first got introduced to stack and tilt via James Ridyard first of all, and then he led me to be introduced to Andy Plummer and Mike Bennett. And the work that Mike and Andy have done and continue to do, building on previous work from Golfing Machine and Mac O'Grady and others, continues to push the golf instruction industry forwards from a place where previously it's been, and unfortunately in some instances continues to be, full of very kind of regurgitated cliches, and there's lots of poor information that continues to rear its head weekly on golf television coverage and monthly in the regular golf magazine publications. So I think those people who are fortunate enough to get exposed to Andy and Mike's work and spend time with them, or some of the other fellow stack and tilt instructors, really can benefit hugely from the system and the way everything works. By clearly defining what they do and what stack and tilt is, Andy and Mike opened themselves up to some criticism, very unfairly in my opinion, but they did. They were prepared to stand there and define something very clearly, which isn't something you see very often in golf instruction. It often continues to be fairly vague and incomplete. Systems, the word systems and models in golf instruction carry a fairly negative connotation, unfortunately. But if you really think about it, every single golf instructor has a system. Every single golf instructor has some decision-making process they go through, some picture in their mind of how the swing should function. And if they say they don't, then I'd be very scared, because if without any kind of system or understanding of how the swing works, you'd have no idea how to make any sort of recommendation for a golfer standing in front of you. So the idea that golf instructors don't have a system and that they're just teaching the golfer in front of them is the kind of nonsense that I think having a clear, defined system, which stack and tilt certainly does, helps everybody. Helps the player to improve faster, helps the coach to do a much better job, and we're afforded an incredibly fortunate position. We're a very privileged position of being able to teach golf for a living. I mean, what a great job. And we're able to charge fairly well for that, I think. And in doing so, I feel passionately that we need to deliver excellent results and be providing people with good, sound, strong information that helps them to improve quickly. Sending them off down some quick tip or different tip here, there and everywhere just isn't good enough for me. So I'll let Andy carry on speaking. He's going to talk a little bit now about systems and models and how they benefit everybody.
Against a person, and because they try to pigeonhole you into teaching one way. When in reality, having a system gives you the most multifaceted way of analyzing a situation to make the most complex diagnoses. I've got a system. When you pee in that cup, and whenever I do your blood test, and whenever I check your pulse, and I start doing all these different tests, I can make a complex diagnosis. Nope, it's not your kidney, it's your liver, or it's your heart. Okay, I've checked your pulse, your blood, your urine, blah, blah. I've checked all these different things. I can make a very much more detailed diagnosis. What I see in the people who don't have a system is they're the people who give the same tips to everyone. Get behind the ball. Release your hands. Rhythm, right? What is rhythm? They're the people who eschew the system under the disguise that they actually just teach the person. They're the people who give the repetitive lessons, in my book. That's what I see. Certainly, they build onto the theory, Kepler's ellipses. We discover these planets, and this French scientist, I think his name is Leverrier, okay? He's studying the galaxy, and he says, you know what? I've been tracking Uranus here, and the orbit that it's tracking on is not the orbit that the Kepler's model. And with my Galileo telescope, that Uranus orbit is not where it's supposed to be. Model, he had two choices there. The model could be wrong, or there's something else acting on the model that he doesn't know yet. He chose to believe the model. I think this model's right. There's something else out there that's disrupting this orbit. There must be another planet out here that we don't know. Something's throwing this thing off. So he says, I hypothesize that there's another planet out there. And 100 years later, 136 years later, this thing is going to appear, and we're going to see it in our telescope. We haven't seen it yet. 136 years passed, boom, 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 and here comes Neptune, that Leverrier predicted would appear without ever having seen it, because he had a model that was built upon the scaffolding of Copernicus, Galileo, and Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo's model. I got a model. I'm watching hit a ball. I can see with my camera and my telescope that he's going to hit behind the ball before I know the expectation. I see it. See my point? We have models to be able to, we use them not to constrain someone and try to make a person, everyone swing the same. We use them to order our understanding for the purpose of mechanical assignment and to predict the outcome. Not every person I teach swings the same. They use the same system and the same logic, the same built-up way of thinking. Just the way all the people who understand the science of the galaxy use the same system, the same built-up way of thinking. It's why this system is so good. It's because we all think about it the same way, and we've learned over years of problem solving of how to make it work. Some people will say the stack and tilt's one swing, or a model is bad, or system is bad. And you should be able to cite examples of systems and models and their benefits. Because you could tell the same story. We're talking about this in the car. You could tell the same story about how this model was developed, how it was built up on, how it was improved over time, about anything. You could take a car, how the car was built, and how people added to the progression of the automobiles. Now we're building electric cars. You could take that and explain the whole process of that in practically anything. And that happens in everything we do. Okay, so the benefits of a model.
So that brings me towards the end of this week's video. It leaves me just to say that a couple of things regarding next week's clinics at work. I'll be back in Portugal Sunday, back on the range Monday. Nope, this is not Portugal Sky. This is England. Can you believe it? The summer decided to arrive this weekend, so I'll be home Sunday. I'll be on the range Monday. We've got regular clinics Monday, Thursday, and don't forget this Friday we've still got a few spaces left on the lowest score wins seminar. That's Friday evening in the clubhouse. I'll put some information up about that on the video as you're watching now. So if you'd like to attend any of the clinics, just get in touch as normal and I'll put you down. It's been a great trip. Thank you so much for watching. If you attended this week's training at the Belfry, it was great to meet you. Thank you very much. For anyone watching this and wants to learn more about stack and tilt as a player or as a coach, please feel free to reach out to me on this video. You can comment down below or reach out to me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You're very welcome to look me up and ask questions. I'm very happy to try and help where I can. Until next time, enjoy the summer, and I'll see you all again very soon.